So definitely want to share that with everybody today.
Right. Okay, cool.
Deborah, this is one of the things when I'm coaching agents in their business, and I'm a business coach as well, but mostly real estate agents. And it seems like when we got into real estate, we all go out looking for the real easy business. We're going out, can we sign up for this lead generation system? Can we buy these leads from somebody? And I watch agents all the time spending money on leads.
Mm-hmm.
And when we first got into real estate, the very first thing that the broker or anybody usually has us do is write down the 150 people we know that they know us. Mm-hmm. But yet we never do anything with that list. It seems like we send out one, announcement card, and then we go look for the deal as fast as we can find it. So people are typically going outside of their database looking for business, and there is so much business already in front of you that are people who already know us, like us, and trust us, and they know who you are. Right. So what I try and tell agents is focus on the people that really know who you are and make sure that they know you're in real estate. So one of the things I watch when people spend money on mass mailings out to neighborhoods, and I've done it all. I say watch people, but I've actually been there. I've done it. Right. I've done the postcard mailings. I've done all that stuff. And there is a time and a place for that, but if money is tight and your expenses are more than your income, it's really time to get back to the one-on-one and really start touching people and let them know you're in real estate and build a relationship versus looking for the next deal. Mm-hmm. People really do truly like to help their friends and people that they like and trust. So as we get started today, what I want to do is give you a little overview of what we're going to cover. Before we get into the meat of all this stuff, I do need to help everybody get in the right mindset, because this is going to be a totally different mindset from the way you may have been running your business in the past. We're going to talk about what the 3 L's are, and these are the 3 most important things that you need to do every single day before you do anything else like touching a file or organizing your desk or anything like that. And then for real estate agents, what I found is it has to happen systematically and automatically. If I have to remember to do something every day, there's a good chance it won't get done. So we're going to talk about all that stuff today. So the first thing I want to talk about is just getting in the right mindset. And as you guys get ready for this call and the information I'm going to share, I want you to really start thinking of your business like a business. And I think as real estate agents, Deb and Mel, I'm sure you see us talking like salespeople all the time. We have cold calling nights at the office. We go door knocking, and stuff like that. Open up the Kohl's directory and grab a street and just start calling through the list trying to look for business. Mm-hmm. When in actuality, what a business does is they're generating business through leads and opportunities. And one of my biggest ahas as I started learning these concepts and started changing my business is that it doesn't matter what kind of business you are, whether you're a plumber, whether you're building skyscraper buildings like the Chrysler building, doesn't matter what you're building, we are all in the same business. Everybody's in the same business. Realtors and loan officers and the Chrysler building guys and tennis shoe manufacturers are all in one business. We're in the lead generation business.
Right.
And if somebody makes cookies, for example, and nobody calls to buy the cookies to put on their grocery store shelf, they are out of business. So every business needs to generate leads, and that's the main purpose of what you want to focus on every single day. The other thing that you want to do, or that I did to really help me grow my business fast, is think big goals and big models. And a lot of this stuff we reference out of a book, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But setting up big goals will carry you through all your smaller goals faster. And when I got into real estate 18 years ago, my first 3 years actually, it's funny that I'm sitting here teaching this class because I look back on my first 3 years in real estate, and if you add up all 3 years, I made $10,000. My first 3 years in real estate combined. It was a slow start. I was sitting at the desk doing a lot of cutting and pasting and all that stuff. But at least I started to understand the business, and that was when I was in Minneapolis, Minnesota, up in St. Paul area. And I had the opportunity to move back to Kansas City, which is where I was from. So I kind of started my business over, and I definitely knew how not to do it now. I probably should have gotten out too, but I'm a little slow, so I thought I'd give it one more try. But the funny thing is that when I came back here, I just started looking at how other people were running their businesses. And what I did, and I did this by accident because I hadn't even met Gary Keller, didn't even know who Keller Williams was at the time, but I looked at who the top agent was in Kansas City. And that person back in 95 was selling about $40 million worth of real estate. There's kind of a thing looking at the change in the industry now, but in 95, $40 million, you were the top agent in Kansas City. So I set that as my goal. I said, I'm going to be the top agent in Kansas City, and here's guys that made $10,000 his first 3 years. So anyway, I just started out on my journey, and I started looking for people that were doing a lot of business and a lot of volume at the level that I wanted to be at, and I just started putting systems in place and started building a team and doing all that stuff. Well, we went from, when I set my goal at $40 million, my first full year in Kansas City, I didn't make much of anything. My second year, I did $1 million in sales. My third year, I did $2 million in sales. The next year was $4 million in sales. The next year was $8 million in sales. And so what I'm trying to get through here is that when I set that goal at $40 million, believe me, I had no idea how I was going to pull that off. But 4 years later, I'm sitting at $8 million in sales, one of the top, probably 10% agents in Kansas City area at that time. And it's all because I set a big goal, and it blew me through those little ones so fast, I didn't even know it happened. And I remember when I hit $8 million, I was masterminding with a lot of top agents around the country at that point, and everybody's doing their business planning, setting their goals to increase their sales by 25% next year. And I was kind of like, 25%? I'm going for 100 again. I want to do 60 next year. And so I just kind of kept doing my thing. But what happened, you guys, is the reality is as you start to realize your goals, it does slow you down. So because in my mind, subconsciously, next year would have been 16. The following year would have been 32. I mean, we're talking 2 years, and I would have been the top agent in the area. But what actually happened was we did $8.4 million, and then we did $11.2, and then we did $12.7. And so I started to slow down because that goal was becoming realized. And I probably should have reset it back to like $80 million. Now there's agents that are doing $100 million in sales, with systems in place. So set big goals, and they're going to carry you through those smaller goals faster. And then the last thing I want to talk about, which is the most important that I hope everybody hears as we get in the right mindset, is really build a stable business first versus being super creative. We're real estate agents for a reason. We're self-employed. We're very creative. We always want to be the first at something. And I did this all in my first career, when in actuality, if you back up and just implement the stuff that definitely works, it's proven, and there's no doubt about it, start building your business from that foundation first. You can get creative later on. Deborah, we're talking so creative. One of the things I did was, I remember a bus salesman came into our office one day, and of course he hit us on the month that we just had probably the most sales we'd ever had all these commission checks sitting in our desk drawer, and this bus salesman comes in. He's like, hey, you want to buy an ad on the bus? And I'm like, no, buses don't excite me. I don't know that I even pay attention to that stuff. And as he's closing up his briefcase, he's about ready to walk out, and he goes, all right, well, I guess you're not interested in, the newest thing we got coming out that nobody's done in Kansas City. And I'm like, what do you mean? What do you got? And he's like, oh, we got this bus wrap. We wrapped the whole bus, and it's got this 10-foot picture of your logo and you on the bus, and it'll drive around town. In fact, right now, because it's so new, we're giving people 2 buses for the price of 1.
Oh, he's
and
a salesman.
He got me. He got me good. So anyway, we paid $1,000 a month for the next year. Might have even been a year and a half. I don't even remember. We signed a contract. But what is really sad about that is I really did not track one sale back to that bus.
Ooh.
Yeah, I tracked a couple phone calls of my friends who almost ran off the road when a 10-foot picture of me showed up in their driver's window. That was kind of funny, but I don't know that was $12,000 funny. But the point is I was trying to be creative, and I never really looked at what was my game plan to make sure we cashed in on that.
Oh, that's a great example.
Yeah, and we all are guilty of that. Right. The other thing I wanted to talk about, you guys, is the 3 L's, and this is kind of what today is going to get you a little more focused on some of this 3L stuff, and it has to do with leads, listings, and leverage, and it has to do with this 80-20 rule. Every day when you go into work, before you pick up the phone and start putting out fires, before you organize a file, anything at all, if you could spend the first 2 or 3 hours of your day doing anything that has to do with getting more leads into your business, because what type of business are we in, you guys? Lead generation business. Or getting another listing, or setting up a system or leveraging yourself some way so that you can free up more time to go back and get more of the other two, more leads and more listings. So if you're doing one of those 3 things, then you're going to have a great business. And if you do that all before 11 a.m. every day, you're actually going to be able to just put fires out the rest of the day. But you've got to get those 3 things done every single day. And that rolls into this 80-20 rule. And you've all heard the 80-20 rule. It's in everything in life. And you've probably heard more consistently than anything is that 80% of the real estate agents in the industry are fighting over 20% of the business. 20% of the real estate agents are doing 80% of the business. Might even be more like a 90-10 now. But what was really profound for me is when somebody put it in a different perspective and they said, do you know that 80% of what you do every single day generates 20% of your income, which means that 20% of what we do every day generates 80% of our income. So here's the mindset piece that I really want you guys to get that I got, and it really changed my business, is if you're not making the money you want to make right now, if you want to double your income this year starting today, all you have to do is do the 20%, 40% of the day, and you will double your income. I'm not even talking about half your day. I'm talking about 40% of your day. If you can find out how to do more leads, more listings, more leverage, and focus on that, just 40% of your day, you're going to double your income. And that was a huge wake-up call for me. So that's what I started doing, is started tracking what I was doing, and 80% stuff is not generating the income, and got that stuff off my plate, or saved it till later in the day and focused on that stuff. So here's what today's whole topic is about, and it really is about buying brain cells. There is a marketing battle going on out there, and we're all fighting for brain cells in the consumer's mind to remember our product or remember our service. And what we're looking at right here is statistics from the National Board of Realtors that they track sellers and buyers, and how many agents did they talk to before they listed their house or sold or bought, signed a buyer agency and bought a house. 76% of all sellers only talk to one agent, and they list their house. What I'm going to show you guys today is how to be that 76% so that you're getting more listings. Your listings are going to generate more leads, and you're going to have to set up systems to handle that business. So here's what it all boils down to, is really it's playing a numbers game. The more numbers that you can bring in, you want your leads to be flowing in as fast as they can. And if you've got leads coming in right now, and you could just focus on converting them better, if you focused on your conversion rate, you don't have to bring in more leads to grow your business. And that's another thing that as I was studying all this stuff, trying to figure out how to grow my business before I came across, mining the database, is I would see agents that would, if they wanted to double their business, they just doubled the amount of mailings that they went out and brought more leads in, and they kept their conversion rate, at whatever it was. So we've been focusing on converting more of the leads we're already getting before we start bringing in more leads. And when you get really good at conversion, then you're going to need to go to people like our sponsors to get more leads coming in, because now you're kicking booty at converting them, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it really, truly is a massive numbers game. And if you really want to convert better, you need to have a system or leverage your system so that it's very consistent and very frequent. And the less you have to remember to do, the more of a chance that it's going to happen. So lead generation really needs to be more ambitious than your goal. And here's where we're going to bring our volunteers in. And what I want to do is I want to show you guys an example of what I mean about this mind share and buying brain cells. Remember what we said earlier, that a seller talks to 76% of the time they talk to one agent and they buy. So I'm going to throw Barbara out first. Okay, Barbara, you're with us, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Barbara. What we're going to do for you three right there, and the other two aren't going to help the person out, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a product and I want you to tell me as many brands as you can think of, okay? There was a study done at one of the universities, and they said that the human brain can remember 7 brands. Don't let that throw you off. But I just want you to start rattling off as many brands as you can think of this product, and then you'll be done for the day, and then you just get to listen again, all right? So, Barbara, here's your first product. I'm going to give you tennis shoes. Now, give me as many brands as you can think of.
Nike, Reebok, oh, geez.
Okay,
Converse.
that was good.
Perfect.
You did good. Converse, okay. All right, that was good, Barbara. Okay, Ernest, how about you? You on the line?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to give you a different product. I'm going to give you potato chips.
Potato chips?
Yep. Name me as many brands of potato chips you can think of.
All right, Lay's. Goodness gracious, I've already done it.
We got you on the spot.
Perfect.
No, actually, that's good, Ernest. That's good. You got Lay's out. All right, how about Jeannie? Jeannie, are you on?
Yep.
Last product. Tell me, just start naming off as many brands of toothpaste as you can think of. Toothpaste.
Crest, Pepsodent, Colgate, AIM.
All right. Okay, guys, thank you very much. You can now either mute your phones or jump off.
I'm going to mute you guys. Thank you, Jeannie. Thank you, Barbara. And thank you, Ernest. And thank you, everyone, for raising your
thank
hand.
you guys for pulling it off. I feel like I'm just a troublemaker here, making you do all kinds of new stuff on the deal.
That
All
was
right.
cool.
All right, here's what I want to tell you guys what I just saw happen, and hopefully you can see this. See, the human brain can only remember a few brands at any given time, and that was proven by that statistic from the National Board of Realtors that 76% of the time the sellers talk to one agent. What I just saw happen was Barbara said Nike, Reebok, and then she kind of paused out for a little while. Ernest got Lay's out, and then he got stumped, right? And then Jeannie got Crest, Pepsodent, Colgate, and then she kind of paused out and was thinking of the next brand. See, here's the thing, guys. If you're not the Nike, the Lay's, and the Crest when that seller decides to sell, you're not going to be sitting at the kitchen table. 76% of all sellers talk to one agent, and they hire them right there. Now, 15% or 16% talk to a second agent. So you better be the Reebok or the Pepsodent, and in Ernest's case, you're done. He's hiring the only agent that comes to his table. But you got to be the Reebok or the Pepsodent, or you're not going to get a second shot, and that's only if the first agent really doesn't say anything that makes sense to the seller. So what we're going to show you guys today is to become the Nike, the Lay's, and the Crest for the people who know who you are and in your marketplace. Are you guys excited about that? Well, great, guys. And now I hope you see the reason why we kind of went through getting in the right mindset first. So we're going to jump right into the meat now, and we're going to truck through this. You guys can ask questions if you have them, and obviously you can get a hold of me after the program as well. But the 4 laws that we need to focus on and that we're going to talk about today are building a database. You need to have an organized place to keep track of things. And I'm not talking a Rolodex. I'm talking about a contact management system. The second most important thing you need to do after you have a place to put them is to feed it every day. If you are not adding new names and numbers to your database every day, that is part of the 3 L's. That is your 20%. Because once I show you how you can systematically market and communicate with these people, you are going to want to put people in this database as fast as you can. It will literally automate your business and get you off of the roller coaster ride. And then you need to service all the leads that come your way, too, because here's the deal. If you get this business and you don't service them, you're going to miss out on so much more business through the referrals and the word of mouth, and it will be easier for you to add new people to your database every day if you actually blow their socks off. So what we're going to talk about today is just personal touch versus mass marketing, and there's 3 things that we focus on. It's our 8 and 8 and our 33 touch. Those 2 things go together. And just so you know what they are, 8 contacts in 8 weeks is what the 8 by 8 is. This is what gets you into the Nike spot, the Lay's spot, and the Crest spot. What happens when you meet somebody, and I'll tell you exactly what I do. When I meet somebody new, I have a conversation with them, a 2-way conversation with them. This is not something that you're going to put somebody on that you haven't met. because you're going to, what happens is you meet somebody, you have a great conversation. The first thing I do is I get out and I write them a note and then add them to my database and put them on the plan. And they will get 8 contacts from me in 8 weeks. Now, if they get 8 things from me in 8 weeks, I have now moved into the #1 spot under Realtor, that if they bump into anybody who's thinking about buying or selling real estate in the next 2 months, who do you think they're going to say to call? Brad Korn. And then the 33 touch, and this is going to catch a lot of you off guard, so don't hang up the phone yet. There's really a method to this madness. Is 33 times a year they get something from us. Now, you've heard of 12 direct, which is once a month, but 33 touches a year has been studied, and it's been verified that that will keep you in the #1 spot. Anything less than that, you won't get as much business as you can. Anything more than that, you might not be getting a return on your investment. So let's talk about these 3 key areas, prospecting and marketing. I mean, that's, well, like one of the sponsors you just said, Mal, Agent Advantage. If you're trying to figure out how the heck am I going to feed my database every day, Agent Advantage is going to bring those leads in so you can start feeding those. But you've got to have a database to put them in. And there are several contact management systems out there that have what's called action plans, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. But the action plans will help you systematically and automatically market to that database. So here's what it kind of looks like when you're playing this game out there in the real estate world. And this is your target. Your objective is to get them to the bullseye, which is your allied resources. The people are out there bragging you up all the time. But what we focus on mostly in the real estate industry is we all are looking at those 2 outer rings. The general public are people that don't know us yet, and we're running ads in Homes magazines or, you know, just our websites out there. That's prospecting and marketing. Now, if you get real targeted and you pick a neighborhood or you're going to market to doctors or whatever, that's a targeted group, but you still haven't met them yet. And those 2 groups, you're trying to send a message out that has a call to action that will get them to pick up the phone and call us. Now, many of you have realized that people don't seem to pick up the phone and call in as much as they did, 5 years ago. So this is why this more personal one-on-one 8x8 and 33 touch is so important right now, and why the Korn team is actually having our second best year, or we'll probably end up right around our second best year in 18 years. And what we do is after we meet people, we hammer, I say hammer, but we buy that brain cell by hitting them 8 times in 8 weeks and then staying in touch with them 33 times a year. And then when they do business with us, we blow their socks off so they become an allied resource. So that's the game we're playing. We're trying to move them from the 2 outer rings to the 2 inner rings, and your business will go crazy because these people know you, like you, and trust you, and they will send you business. So here's
Brad,
what, yes.
So, Brad, relative to, say, a #1 expert, they have a database called Homecaster, and they get a lot of leads coming into that, but that's still in the prospecting and marketing section in the 12 direct.
Yeah.
And and there's also campaigns that go out to all those people too, waiting for them to then bite one day and give you a phone number, and that's when you put them into another database called Top Producer, right?
Yes, we use Top Producer. And what you're doing, you guys, is you're trying to get them to call you and give them the right thing that somebody raises their hand and says, I'm ready. And then that's when you can really start cashing. We're actually going to talk about the return on investment of the 2 outer rings versus the 2 inner rings.
Right.
So your allied resource generation, as you're doing this, again, you got to establish a database. You got to have somewhere to put them. You got to market to them automatically, because if you have to remember to send out 8 things over the next 8 weeks, and you added 5 people today, 5 people tomorrow, 5 people the next day, I'm telling you, you'll lose track of this thing pretty quick. It has to be systematic and automatic. And so what we do is, one of the things I coach all my clients on is get them back to feeding their database every day. And this is probably one of the things that we all feel like we're busy and we all feel like we're doing a good job at our business, but are you really truly adding 5 new people to your database that you personally met? All right? The other systems that we're talking about, those 2 outer rings, that's bringing in email leads by the thousands, and it's dripping on them, and it's staying in touch with them, but you haven't met them yet.
So, Brad,
yes.
If one of these leads comes in and they have a phone number, if you called them, then you could move them into the 8x8.
Oh, my gosh. Did you guys hear that? That was like a pearl. It's amazing when a lead comes in with a telephone number, but it comes in through the web that we sent the email back, and we're like, well, they haven't emailed back yet. I've emailed them like 7 times, and I'm looking at the lead going, well, there's a telephone number there. Did you call them? Well, no, they emailed us. And I'm like, what? Are you kidding? So, yeah, really call them. Your goal is to talk to 5 people a day that you could write a handwritten note to that says it was nice talking with you. And that brings me to the next point is what are the 8 things that we send them? When we first meet you, our first rule of thumb is if I can write a note to them with no business card, this is just a person that I just met, and I can recap how nice it was to talk to them, and I'm glad I met them, that person counts as a met. And now they're going to move from those 2 outer rings to the inner rings. And then you can mix it up with emails, phone calls, letters, newsletters, and even podcasts driving them back to your site. The more personalized it is, the better, the bigger return you're going to get. A mass mailing or a mass email has a lot less effect than if you picked up the phone or showed up at work. So I would challenge people that are really wanting to grow their business and work with people that they like to get a lot more personal contact involved in your drip. Quit doing all the bulk stuff. That's good for that's good for those 2 outer rings for the marketing and prospecting and the target areas that you're working on. So when we send a handwritten note, I mean literally when I meet somebody, they're going to get a note and it's going to come in the mail and it's just it's actually in my handwriting now. My handwriting's much nicer than Michael's. I imagine that this is probably my buddy Michael Mayer here.
It is. I used his slide. I hope that's okay, Michael.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure he doesn't care at all. But, you know, Mike and we are like king of the handwritten notes, and we both have realized how important it is to build a relationship with people. Yes, you're a real estate agent, and yes, you sell real estate, but what you are in is the relationship building business. And if you can build that relationship first versus calling somebody right out of the chute going, hey, you know anybody who wants to buy and sell real estate? I mean, I'll ask you guys, how well is that script working for you? Hey, if you know anybody buying or selling real estate, will you give my card? Yeah, sure. Great. I've worked hard today. I asked for referrals. How's the referrals coming in? You know, so you need to help remind people every day, and this is one of the things I told you, Deborah, earlier, is that our friends and family don't wake up every day and roll out of bed and go, oh, man, how much business can I get for Brad today? You know, and they don't do that, so we've got to stay in front of them. All these concepts that I'm talking about, if you have a copy of The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, what I'm going to challenge you to do is to go read pages 133 through 148 12 times. 12 times. And until you read it 4 or 5 times, you won't understand why I'm telling you to read it 12 times. I'm not a book reader, and I don't like reading books, so I've got this on CD too, but I've still read the book 12 times. Now, here's the thing, that's 15 pages. So literally, if you open it to page 133 and read through, just go right back to page 133 and read it again. Go right back to page 133 and read it again. One of my coaching clients just shot me an email and said, I mean, he's been at Keller Williams for quite a while, and he was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just read it for the 4th time, and it's starting to make sense now, or he's starting to see how it fits in his business. So, you know, here's the biggest thing is here, I already know all the questions that are rolling in like, 5 a day, oh my gosh, where are we going to get those people? You're all meeting 5 a day. You're realtors. You got into real estate because you supposedly like people. You may not have realized that's what you're going to have to do when you got in, but you got to adjust and like people, all right? That's part of the job description. The second thing is we're talking about 8 things in 8 weeks and 33 things a year, and already some people have probably already dropped the phone a couple times and said, oh my gosh, where am I going to get all that? Well, here's the thing. I'm going to give you a lot of content. Really, I'm going to give you enough content that you could probably set it all up here at the end of this call. That's just my gift to you all for being on the call today and investing your time in this. But I'm going to show you some of the things that we send out. This is like what will go out week 1. So understand how this rolls. I meet somebody. I wrote them a handwritten note, put them in the database in Top Producer, and I said, start the 8x8 action plan. And now that says, 7 days after this plan starts, kick this letter out of my computer and mail and just send it out. So this letter is just an introduction, and if you read pages 133 through 148, I followed the model, just a little box that told me what to send out. So this one is just an introduction to the team, who we are, how we work, great to meet you. Week 2, they will get actually another letter. Get there. And this one's just a chicken soup from the soul story. And here's the thing about this content is the content doesn't really matter. And if you don't like some of the content that you see that I'm using, here's my challenge to you, is put your 8x8 and 33 touch in place with my content, and every time you mail out one of those letters, you will get closer and closer to taking an hour to change one of the letters. But until you are sending out, until you're adding 5 people in your database every day, you don't even need to copy these letters. And once you start getting 5 people in your database every day consistently, then you need to set up the action plan and start sending those out. You don't need to change the content until you're adding 5 people a day and actually printing and mailing these letters. Otherwise, you're just going to waste your time. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So here's our puppy dogs for sale. That was a fun story about a boy that goes to a puppy dog store or a pet store and wants this wobbly dog in the window, and the pet owner's trying to tell him to pick one that walks better, and he says, that dog's always going to walk with a limp, and he raises his pant leg and has a brace on his leg, and he said, that puppy's perfect for me, and everybody stopped, and right now, everybody go get your tissue, and we'll move on.
I cried after I read it.
Yeah, it was a good story, and you know what's so funny? I remember the very first call. Now, you talk about sending out content. I remember when I was sending this out, probably one of the 10th or 15th guys that I put in my database was a bachelor, and I'm talking bachelor pad, like socks laying on chairs and all that stuff. And, you know, if I would have thought about it, I would have never mailed this letter to that guy, but it was on autopilot. It was automatic, and it was systematic, and it went out. That was the very first call after, you know, about 2 weeks of putting people in. 3 weeks of putting people in, I got a call from this guy going, man, that puppy dog story was pretty good. And I went, what? You know? So it's pretty amazing that it really doesn't matter what the content is. This one, week 3, we send it out like a, you know, you can have your dessert and eat it too, and it's a fruit medley recipe. Again, content doesn't matter. It doesn't have anything to do with real estate. But now what we actually do, week 4, we make a phone call. So we get back in touch with them. And if I met this person 4 weeks ago and I'm supposed to remember to call them 4 weeks later, it isn't going to happen. But the system pops up in Top Producer and says, you have 10 calls to make today, you have 27 letters to print, you have 3 emails to send. And the letters I just click, select all, print. The emails I say send, and then my call list I just print it out for the day, and that's what I do in the morning, is make my phone calls and get all those people touch base with throughout the day. And then, oh, I may have just screamed right past 5. Okay, then we start training them for referrals at this point, because now we are moving into that Nike spot. And this one is where we just tell them, you know, when you go to a restaurant, you have a good meal, you tip the waiter and waitress on how well they did. So that one just talks about how your referrals are our tips. Week 6 talks about your reticular activator system that now, here I've hammered them for, and I say hammered, you know, very jokingly, nobody will feel hammered. You got to understand that these people we met 6 weeks prior to today. I wrote them a handwritten note, and in that note there was no business card. It just said, I am so glad I met you. You are one of the funniest people I've talked to in a long time, or I really enjoyed our conversation. Do you guys know that they are opening up everything you send them from that point forward? And it's never too much, because these people think you're the best guy or gal on the planet. So on this one, we tell them now that, you know, as you think about, or this one says that pregnant women start noticing pregnant ladies around. When you buy a car, all of a sudden you see your car everywhere. Well, as you start thinking about real estate, you're going to notice more people buying and selling real estate, and we just want you to remember to give us their name and number. All right, and then week 7 is send them an item of value. So we just send them whatever's laying around the office, if you want me to be totally honest with you. I don't do anything real organized here. It's whatever sport is going on. We might send them a calendar. We got the Chiefs calendar down there at the bottom. We got the corn cob letter opener. Just things that we've done throughout the years. But I basically just, because you're only putting in 5 people a day, I just basically send out whatever's laying around the office that we have extra from something. I might even just print that. You might have just something like a tip on how to stage your house, or how how you can cut your expenses back or stuff like that. And then week 8 is another phone call. And then the important thing about action plans in a contact management system is that there's always one extra step at the end of an action plan. Whenever you automate anything, you need to be reminded when it's over. So step number 9 is start them on a new plan. And if I were to ask you guys right now, if you had to guess what the next plan was, what would you think it is? The 33 touch. Then they go on that plan. And a lot of people tell me, well, can you just put the 8x8 and 33 touch together? No, not really, because once somebody only goes on the 8x8 one time in their life. That was to get you into that Nike, that Lays, and that Crest spot. The 33 touch will keep you there, but they stay on the 33 touch forever then.
So Brad?
Yeah.
Brad, we have actually, this is, Ben has a question here. He said, I did a pretty solid 8x8 to my entire network about 3 years ago, but have not done an effective 33 touch program in the last couple of years. And he says, should I do another 8x8 or just go back into the 33 touch? I think you just answered that.
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, if you probably have slid back to the number 2 or the number 3 spot in their brain, and you may not have to do the 8x8, but I'll tell you what it will require is a personal phone call back to every single one of them to get you back on the thing. Maybe you have to write them another note and then just throw them on a 33 touch. And hang tight, because I'm going to give you the 33 things so you can start it tomorrow. All right? So, yeah, we'll show you an example of some of our 33 touch. This one is a letter that goes out, and it doesn't matter when these go out. What I do on my 33 touch is I actually have successful real estate stories of how we help people. I mix it with more chicken soup from the soul stuff, and then usually about every 4 letters or so. And I say letters a lot, you guys. I did send this out in all letters because we tend to jump right to all email. And I will tell you as a business coach that for every 200 emails that you blast out, only about 20 of them are going to see or click on the email. The rest of those 180 people are getting trapped in spam folders or they're getting clumped together in the delete key. So you may feel great about this awesome email drip campaign that you've got going out, but you're only, that is your prospecting and marketing tool. That is not how you keep in close contact with people. You got to get real personal. These are people that you have a relationship with. They're your friends, right? So, but every 4 letters, we try and throw in something of value, like did you know we have moving boxes when you move? Did you know you can search for properties for sale on our website? Things like that. And then here's an example of just the very first letter that goes out. We actually kick off the 33 touch. Oops, I might have lost there we go. We actually kick off the thing by telling them that we're going to send them some stuff. We sincerely appreciate the opportunity to keep in touch with you. We have a series of true life real estate stories and situations that help. So this sets up the 33 touch, and then we send them all that. So here's some examples that we use is that moving truck window or letter, 101 ways to tell your kids you love them, chicken soup from the soul. I got to tell you, we actually have a team that we started in Lincoln, Nebraska as well. So whether you got Kansas City referrals or Lincoln referrals, give the Korn team a call. We'll take care of them. But what's so funny in Nebraska is one of our funniest, most successful letters that we get the most calls on is our 50 things you can do with Alberto VO5. Tell me where that came from. I have no idea. So I guess that they still sell a lot of Alberto VO5 in Nebraska.
A lot of beehive hairdos there, maybe.
Exactly. So what I've done for you guys is I have set up a website where you can go download all of my 8x8 and all of my 33 touch, and it's free.
Wow.
There's basically, you bet, there's 2 formats that you have. One of them is in a PDF, unless you don't have Publisher. If you have Publisher or you have the top version of PDF, you could actually copy and paste this content right into your system, whatever system you're using. So I just really want everybody to, first of all, focus on putting 5 people in their database every day. Once you start doing that for a week or 2, then you can worry about getting this content all downloaded. But if you go to kornteam.com/database, I put this together for The Secrets of Top Selling Agents and them guys doing the call today so you can get all the content and download it there. Okay? So let's talk about our return on investment, because I know right now you guys are like, oh my gosh, I got to get off this phone and go meet 5 people today, because that's how I felt when I first heard it. And I'm going to tell you my story of how I got it started, but here's the return on investment on what we're currently doing versus if you really buy into this 8x8 and 33 touch stuff. And what it is they have done a study where if you do a monthly mailer once a month and you do it consistently over time, your ratio of return is 50 to 1. You're going to get 1 piece of business for every 50 people that you put on this plan. Follow me on that? Now, that's a 2% return, and if you do any kind of mass mailing or magazine ads, you'll know as well as I do that it's not a 2% return. It's more like a 0.5% return. But these studies were done over time by agents who were making $1 million in commissions, gross commissions. And that all comes from that Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. But look at the ratio on the 8x8 and 33 touch. And I will tell you from personal experience, see, I started this the year the book came out, and I will tell you it truly is a 12 to 2. And our phone just rings. I don't really have to go, I don't feel like I have to go work real hard every day to round up my next deal, because I've been dripping on these people for 6 years. And the 8x8 and 33 touch gives you a 12 to 2 ratio. So in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, they're talking about making $1 million in gross commissions. Now, some of you on the phone right now are going, you know, probably never can even see yourself as a millionaire. And I want you just to raise your hand up right now and slap yourself across the face, because anybody can have $1 million in gross commissions in this business.
Well, actually,
All
also,
right.
Brad, there's a lady who said she's a loan agent. She sees that you've got a lot of people on your team, and I guess she's kind of feeling, how can she do it if she's kind of a loan agent?
Yeah, no, that is a great question. And no, I do not have a lot of people on my team. We're operating with 4 people doing 120 transactions a year because we have a lot of systems in place. My team has been bigger in the past, but when you really systematize things and automate things, you can run a lean, mean machine. So if you are an individual agent, this is the absolute best program you could possibly do, and from 2 different reasons. First of all, if you're an individual agent, money's tight, and it's trying to have all the money to do all the marketing that you want to get your business to the level that you want to get it to. But the reality is if all you have to do is go meet 5 people a day, and let's just say you did the all-mail program that I did, how much is a piece of mail? 44 cents, right? Times 5, what's that, a couple bucks? Your investment in your real estate marketing career is a few bucks a day. Okay, that's less than a Starbucks coffee. So if you could cut out Starbucks every other day and buy postage with the difference, you can start building your business 5 people a day. And if you did this for the next year to 2 years and your phone starts ringing automatically, you're going to then be calling me up going, oh my gosh, my business is out of control, I can't keep up. Well, guess what you do? You hire somebody or you leverage yourself. And here's the best thing about it, you guys. Listen to this. The business paid for your employee. Okay? I watch agents all the time go hire somebody because they want to go to the next level. Well, that person is an expense. But when you let the business build itself till you're just completely out of control and you've lost your free time and you don't see your family, that's when you bring somebody in. That's called leverage. You've leveraged the business as far as you can go, and when you start losing business, my rule of thumb is once I lose 3 deals, then I need to fill that gap. And I will on purpose lose 3 transactions before I hire somebody just because I think I'm busy. But when I lose 3 and hire that person, I am leveraged to the max at that level before I bring in the next person. And then they're picking up the slack, and we might go backwards a step there, but it quickly fills right back in. So this is the best thing you can do if you're an individual agent, because you get to grow your business slowly. And here's the thing. This is slow. This is not the fastest way to grow your business. And that right there, you'll see that you either need to go meet 1,920 people and put them all on an 8x8 and 33 touch. You personally talked to them, written them a handwritten note to get to 300 transactions. Or you can go do a 16,000-piece mailer for the next 10 years, and you'll get to 300 transactions. Or you can mix it, all right?
And all these statistics are in the Millionaire
in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, yep. And,
cool.
and again, 133 through 148 is the section that you really want to pay attention to. So here's what's the hardest part about the system and becoming the Nike, the Lays, and the Brad. You guys are funny, Deborah and Mel. You guys crack me up. The hardest, I know we're kind of running out of time here, but the hardest part about this system is just putting in the 5 people a day. And I'll give you 2 examples. Got a guy in Dallas, Texas, that when he got into real estate, Haas Pratt, if you've heard this story, he just called me up and said, I'll do whatever you tell me to do because I've seen you be successful. I said, Haas, go meet 5 people today. Put them in top producer and just do whatever top producer tells you to do. This guy was making calls, actually on the phone, 4 to 6 hours a day. He did $5 million in sales his first full year in real estate. He did $13 million his second full year in real estate. His business grew so fast, and all he did was add 5 people every day. He didn't care who they were, where they came from, because the drip system is generic, but he made his calls every day, and he wrote his handwritten notes every day. And then I get a lot of other people that I coach, including my brother in Lincoln, that they kind of go on the roller coaster ride. And I know Jason's on the call, so Jason, 5 a day every single day, never stop. But, you know, it's very monotonous and just bam, 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 and you're going to want to take a break sometime. But when you take a break, it's all of a sudden a week later that you haven't added 5 new people to your database. Now, he's kicking booty now, but Jason, you know, is going to probably sell somewhere between $3 million and $4 million in his 4th year of real estate. But, you know, it's the same plan. Haas did it relentlessly and never stopped. And other people kind of take a break, and it's going to take longer to get to that automated stage. So really just getting into that and really taking advantage of your business and growing it. So, and then, you know, here's the statistics again. For every 12 people on an 8x8 and 33 touch, you're going to get 2 pieces of business. 1, they're going to do business with you at some point, and 2, they're going to send you business because when they're standing in the grocery store line, you're already in the Nike spot, and when somebody says, man, I can't get my house sold, they're going to say, call the Korn team. Your mass marketing is getting 1 person for every 50. So let's look at that. If you put 50 people on an 8x8, you're getting 6 pieces of business compared to the 1, and what's the cost of mailing to 50 people versus a mass mailing that goes out every single month to the 16,000 we were talking about? So, you know, here's what it looks like. Most of us work off the right-hand side of this model with our haven't met groups. We're trying to get people to call in. We put them onto some kind of drip. We do a 12 direct mailer, and then one of them calls us and they do business with us. So what happens here is if they do business with you, but now you put them on this and you put them on the 8x8 and 33 touch, put them into your system, then they go on the 33 touch, they're actually going to, more people are going to call you because they're going to remember to do business with you, and they're going to refer you business as well because you have now become the Nike, the Lays, and the Crest. I kind of pound that into the ground here, but that's really what it's about. So what will it cost? Yeah.
On the haven't met side of this graph or illustration, for example, you would use your database that you would get with, say, Number One Expert or Agent Advantage or Advanced Access. I know Number One Expert better than the others, so that's where you get people you haven't met coming in, lots of leads coming into a database. It's called Homecaster with Number One Expert. And then if they give their phone numbers, then you call them and you send them into the Met section. But you also need a database for that Met section that's a little more sophisticated, like Top Producer. Different people were asking about that.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
so
you want a contact management system, not a database. I mean,
right.
There's a big difference because you need to keep notes.
Right.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. I mean, you do want to, and like content, you know, a couple of your other sponsors like eNeighborhoods and Advanced Access give you all kinds of content to send out.
Fabulous
Agent
content.
Advantage is going to move your website up to the top of the thing so you can bring those relationships in, and that's where I go back to earlier. You've got to blow their socks off. So once you meet this person and you become the Nike, Lays, and Crest from your lead that came off of, you know, your site through Agent Advantage or Number One Expert, you're then going to become the Nike and Lays, and then you've just bought their 150 people that they know because they're an influencer to those people.
Right.
Yeah, so we're just kind of wrapping up, you guys, and I'll just tell you exactly what my process was as I went through this and implemented this 8x8 and 33 touch. And it all started back in July of 2003, shortly after the book came out. I read that section. It got me so excited. It was like, oh, man, I have to do this. This is totally me, just creating relationships, and the business will come. So I made the commitment in January of 2003 to do this. Well, July '03 rolls around, and I'm still trying to figure out if I want to do a postcard on week 4 or if I want to do an email on week 7, you know. And I really didn't like that one story. Oh, I sent out one letter. I tell you what, it was hilarious. Every time my wife saw it, she yelled at me. But it was about Caesar. Did he really die from poison tea, or was it a knife in his back or something? I don't know. It was just stupid stuff. But so January 3 to July 3, nothing. Just kept doing things the way I was doing it, taking care of business, when the phone rang, whatever. July 3, went to another session, and somebody was talking about the 8x8. It was Gary Keller probably telling us, he's been telling us for 10 years, 20 years, you need to add it every day and drip on them more consistently. So July 3, I hear it again, and I'm just like, this is stupid. I could do this, you know. So I really focused on it, and I started out just putting in 5 a day. Then when it came to, okay, now all this business is going to waste, I better get my 8x8 in place. So I started with the 8x8, and what I did was I set up blank documents. I set up 8 blank Word documents, or you could set up 8 blank email templates, and set up your action plan in your contact management system, if it does it, to where it will automatically send those letters out every 7 days, or remind you to print those letters out every 7 days, whatever it is. Just set up the blank documents and call them week 1, 8x8, week 2, 8x8, week 3, and so on. So I set up the action plan. I put in my 5 people on the first day of July of 2003, and I started them on my action plan. I felt real good. Till 7 days later, after I wrote the handwritten note, that a blank sheet shot out of my printer. 5 blank sheets actually shot out of my printer. The next day, 5 more blank sheets shot out of my printer, and kept doing that. So I was like, okay, this is a waste of paper. I need to throw some content in there now. So I copied and pasted some content and just got these letters in there. Same thing with the 33 touch. You guys saw earlier, one of my examples was 101 ways to tell kids you love them. So when I was typing up my content, I had created 33 blank documents, set up my action plan, because now 2 months later I started to have people popping up saying, hey, you got to start them on a 33 touch, and that's one of our listeners. That's where he is right now. So I set up all the blank documents, I set the action plan up, and I just started it. You know, because the more those blank documents were shooting out of my printer, the more urgent it was for me to get some content in there. But I only did a couple letters at a time. And so I'd do 2 letters, and I was done for the day. And then the third week, which was probably about 30 days after they went on the 33 touch, blank letters would start shooting out. Oh, I got to get 2 more pieces of content. So I just eased my way through it until I got to about, you know, the 5th or 6th 33 touch, and I said, I'm going to go rent a movie. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to get them all done because I'm tired of these blank papers. And when I got to that 101 ways to tell kids you love them, and I was retyping these things, I was like, oh, there's got to be a better way to do this. So I just searched Google for all the stories that I was looking for and just copied and pasted, and I was done. And that's where the idea came, to just give these to you guys and let you copy and paste them. But here's the thing. It took 9 months for me to see the first result out of that. And for the next 6 months, we tracked $50,000 worth of revenue coming off of our 8x8 and 33 touch. So what I do know for a fact is that 6 months of you not doing this, if in 6 months from now you don't have this in place, it could cost you $50,000, even if you're that individual agent. If you start with 5 people now, today, and you never stop adding them, just think where your business will be in 6 months.
Right.
The phone just rings.
Hey, Brad, I just want to tell everyone again, to get that free content, you go to www.kornteam.com/database. It's right there. You're going to sign up. So you do, all you have to do is put your name in and email address, I guess.
Yep, free registration.
Right. And then also, Brad, you said you were going to, once people sign up, you're going to put them on your 33 touch anyway, so they'll get a real live experience of it.
You'll get a real live experience. You'll see what your clients are going through.
Right.
Yep, so systematically market to your database. That's the 8x8, 33 touch, and 12 direct. And this is just kind of recapping it, really. I mean, Top Producer has action plans. I know Online Agent has it. One thing that's really important to me is that those letters print automatically without me having to think about it. We might have 127 letters print, you know, daily. And I just click one thing, say print all, and then the labels come out behind them. We stuff them in envelopes and send them off. But the emails, you click and you're done. The call sheets, I just print those out and send them to my team. My team each has their own 8x8 and 33 touch. And then, like I said earlier, get in the right mindset, focus on your 20%. Don't get creative here. Just do this. Get the stuff in place like we talked about on this call today. You can change it later. But until you're doing it consistently and persistently, there's no reason for you to worry about it. Focus on the 3 L's, become that Nike, that Waze, and that Crest, and just start pounding the leads into your database and let the database cultivate them for you. So just last thing, don't forget, prospect and market every single day. Get it in a database where you can organize it and put them on an action plan that's automatic, and put on your seatbelt because you won't know what hits you in about a year. It's a fun ride.
Hey, Brad, Judy is asking, what's your opinion about notes versus Internet cards?
Notes versus Internet cards. Internet cards are okay, but they're not as personal as a handwritten note in your writing with no business card attached like a friend would send to a friend. Right. I think that would be more of one of your drip pieces that would pop up and say, hey, send an Internet card. It's been 6 months since you sent them the handwritten note. If you move back, if you kind of get in the right mindset and move this back to more one-on-one relationships, I don't think you're going to build as strong of a relationship with somebody over the web as you can in person.
True.
I mean, I'll take it one step further. Instead of a phone call on your 4th week and 8th week, what if it's a pop by their house or pop by their work? Can you imagine what the return on that contact, on that touch would be if you sent them an email versus showing up at work to take them out to lunch? Right. What's your return going to be on that? So really move back into the relationship side of things.
Cool. Mel, do you have a question there?
Yeah, it's moving away from me. This is a way back, and I don't remember the slide, but Ed's asking, and for an example of big models.
Yes. Big models, yeah. What you want to do with setting big models and big goals, and this is from Ben. Ben, what I did. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, it's from Ed.
Ed, okay. So the thing is that you want to build a 20-lane highway from day one. If you're an individual agent right now and you like the income and the level you're at and the amount of hours you're working, then you're good. You're set. But what you don't want to do is go out there and start, go winging it, and then a year down the road, you've got to put your whole highway under construction.